Good? All right, we'll begin with the same coach about Houston and then take questions after.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be one of the best teams we play all year. It's the second time we played number one team, but not to discredit North Carolina, but they weren't number one in any of the analytics sites. They were number one in the poll, but none of the computers had Carolina number one. If you look at all the analytics sites, I think every single one of them has Houston number one. Number one in both polls. They're pretty much a consensus number one team because they play so hard. Their defense is high level offensively. They've got talented guys. They're well coached. Coach Sampson, he's got 700 to win. He knows what he's doing. His teams have always played super hard. This is no exception. So we've got our hands full. You saw how intense the game got last year. And they want to win, we want to win. We've got two pretty good programs. I think this is the first time since 2002, if I was informed correctly, that Alabama's been in a top 10 matchup. So we're both in the top 10. So ironically enough, I think that was against Coach Sampson's Oklahoma team. So he's been was in the last one and this one, but no, we're looking forward to it because I think it'll test our guys. It'll be, UConn's obviously proven to be one of the best teams in the country. I didn't think we handled them very well. So this Houston team's tough, physical, like Connecticut was. Hopefully we've improved in some areas since then.
James.
Just want to get an update on Downwell. Just anything you can tell us for his availability for this weekend.
When he's not doing anything live in practice yet, so it's kind of a day by day deal. We're getting him more and more into non-live stuff to just see how he handles it. So we were off yesterday. He just got to work with the trainers. So we'll see what he looks like today.
Chase.
So when you played the Phil Knight Invitational, it was 3.5 games in 4 days, whereas with this stretch you got coming up, it's more like a regular schedule, 3 games in 7 days. What does that do as opposed to the tournament in terms of rest and preparation?
Yeah, I mean, the Phil Knight deal was a little bit more like what an SEC tournament, NCAA tournament might look like. You're playing off day, playing back to back, like you would an SEC tournament. This is more, honestly, like Gauntlet you'll face in the SEC, where you get Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, something like that, where shoot 3 really good teams in a row, but got a couple days in between all of them to kind of prep yourself for them. So that's the difference between, that Michigan State, UConn, UNC. Now at least, we got a week to prep for Houston, 3 days going into Memphis, another 3 days, whatever, going into Gonzaga. So we'll have more time to prep. The games will be just as tough, but hopefully it'll be a little more fresh. Guys, the 60-minute game, guys are playing 50+ minutes. I wouldn't mind another one of those, especially if it came out the right way like the last one did, but at least if you played one of those, it wouldn't be after playing 2 games in the 3 days leading up to that. So I like the stretch we've got, though. I think it's going to show a lot about our team. I mean, the next, starting Saturday for the next 8 days will really show kind of where we're at, what more areas we need to improve on, and whether we win or lose. This game Saturday, we're obviously going to compete as hard as we can to win the game. They're number 1 in the country. It'd be a huge win for us on the road. But, if you don't win the game, I think how far have we come since the UConn game? How far have we come since the Carolina game? How much further do we have to go? And honestly, even if we win, they're going to expose some new areas that, hopefully we got a mature enough group to learn off wins and losses both.
Katie.
You talked about how intense that game was last year with Houston. With how much roster turnover y'all have had, how much is that game something y'all are kind of learning from or talking about, or is it kind of focused on the two teams for this year?
I mean, we learn a little bit because we both got the same coaching staffs and are coached similar to what was done in the past. But like as far as the players go, you know, we do have some returners. Obviously, Quinterly, Gurley, Bediako, Darius Miles were all on that game. Amari was on the bench, not able to play, so they understand the intensity that Houston's going to bring to the table. But you know, Houston's Sasser. I think Sasser got hurt in the game after that, if I remember correctly. And I think Trayvon Mark played in our game, but I think he was hurt, and they shut him down after that. So they took a team without Sasser and Mark and went to the Elite Eight. I mean, that kind of shows you just the culture that coaching staff's built there with the effort and toughness and defense that they play with. So we in video we've used some clips from last year's game, and we just how hard they rebound the ball, what we're gonna have to do on the glass to be able to beat this team. I think they had 21 offensive rebounds. I think if I remember right, I don't have the stats in front of me. I think Juwan Roberts had 9 offensive rebounds himself, which is rather ridiculous. So, and he's back, and we've got to deal with him. So we've definitely used some clips from last year's game, but they're a different team, we're a different team, so more of our focus has been on what are they doing this year. You know, how are we playing this year? Because we definitely have a different roster than we did last year.
Charlie?
I know you guys have played away from Tuscaloosa, but Mobile being a lot of Alabama fans there, you kind of envisioning this or talking about this as your first true road test and kind of preparing guys the right way for that?
Yeah, you know what? I thought we'd have more Alabama fans in Mobile, to be honest with you. That gym sounded a lot more pro South Alabama than what I originally thought it was going to be. So I do think that was a pretty true road test in South, but this will be the first true road game against another high major team, top 10 team. So yeah, and it's going to be really loud. It's a big basketball city, basketball school. We're a top 10 team coming in there. You know, they're switching leagues. Their current league doesn't have a ton of top 10 matchups to bring into Houston, so this is a big game. You know, they played on the road at Oregon. I think that their St. Mary's game was actually in Fort Worth, so I think this will probably be the biggest game that they've had. You know, so they're number 1 in the country. Their fans want to see a good game. We're top 10 in the country. We're coming in. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. The environment's going to be unbelievable. I'm looking forward to it. I hope our guys this is why you play the game of basketball. I mean, I don't think you play it to play in an empty gym without any kind of intensity and any of that. You kind of do all your early morning workouts, all your extra time in the weight room to get to be involved in a game like this. So if I'm a player, I'm super excited for this. As a coach, I'm excited. You know, it will be interesting. It'll be telling to see how we respond to a road game like this, but I like our guys. I think we got a pretty mature group, and I think it'll be good for them.
Go back.
Hey Coach, you mentioned Sasser earlier. Just what makes him such a dynamic point guard for them with his experience and with some more defensive depth that you have this year? Are you going to try to throw some different looks at him Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, he can score it on a lot of different levels. He's an elite shooter. He can get a shot. He can create his own shot. He doesn't need a teammate to get him open. You know, he had some shots that he made on us last year that were pretty elite. We did a really good job defensively. He still hit a tough shot. So I don't think players this good that you can just give them the same dose all game long. So, you know, we'll have different defenders on him. We'll have some smaller guards. Maybe we'll try some length on him. He's quick. He goes by people though. If you try to put length on him, he's able to get in the paint. And that's a major issue with these guys. If you give up blow-bys and you get defensive rotations, they just crush you on the old boards. Now you don't have bigs boxing out bigs. You got guards having to smash down in their center, trying to box out Roberts, which is an issue. So we've got to be smart, careful with our matchup on Sasser and Sheet both, because the more breakdowns those two get, the more offensive rebounds they're going to get. So, and honestly, their first shot offense is good. I mean, they do a good job on offense, but their first shot offense isn't typically what's gonna beat you, it's their second shot, third shot, how many boards they get, so. The ability for Sasser to make shots makes you press into them, and then, you know, that's when you end up giving up blow-bys, so. We gotta find somebody that can, you know, and he's gonna hit some tough shots, I mean, he's a high-level scorer, so. If he's taking the type of shots we want him to take and they're highly contested, he makes a few, we keep guarding him the way we are and trust the numbers, that he's not gonna make too many to beat you, but if he's blowing by you all night and you're giving up on boards because of that, now you're gonna have a problem.
Michael?
You talked about learning about your team. So far to this point in the season, how much have you learned about this team and how well do you think you know what the potential of this team can be?
Yeah, you know what, I've learned we've got a good group that really cares about each other and that's concerned about winning. Now, I said before the last game, it'd be a maturity test. I told the team I didn't think we passed it with flying colors. I thought we got up 20 and relaxed, which I wasn't happy about. We weren't as a whole, only the team was either. It takes some leadership, some focus, you know, to get up 20. You look at some of these Houston wins, they're up 30 in the first half and still first team to the floor for loose balls, not playing super hard. Like they've got a maturity about them where it doesn't matter what the score is, they've got a level of play they're gonna play with and they're playing that way. I felt like we had a lapse in that last game, so we've learned that we're still young, we still got work to do as far as maturity goes that way. It doesn't matter what the score is, you have to play as hard as you need to play to be the best you can be. We've had an issue with turnovers that if that's an issue Saturday, we're gonna be in trouble because Houston turns people over and they turn it into offense. You know, if you look at their analytics, their tempo is not very high. They're one of the slower teams in the country, but it's because they're patient on offense. It's also because their offensive rebounding rate, you know, turns possessions into longer possessions. But if they turn you over, they're out as fast as anybody in the country is. So they will run opportunistically, and if they can turn you over, like they're definitely running. So we've had an issue with turnovers that we're trying to get fixed. Some of that goes, you know, Quinley wasn't back early. He's one of our better ball handlers, you know, decision makers. His assist to turnover ratio has been pretty good. I think it was 7-1 last game. So getting him back helps, but some of our younger guards got to do a better job taking care of the ball as well. And then our three-point shooting, I think you can see we've got, you know, a really high upside on what we could be as a shooting team. We've also been pretty inconsistent with it, so we've got to get better shots, be a little more consistent with our shooting. But, you know, we said coming into the year we're going to be a better defensive team this year. We're significantly better on the defensive end than we were last year. Some of that's our length and athleticism, some of it's our guys understand the importance of it, and it's going to be really important Saturday.
We good? One more, Chase.
I know you talked about how you're pretty pleased with the depth on this team, Coach. How do you balance, on the one hand, trying to lock in the right substitution pattern with, on the other hand, keeping the 9th and 10th and 11th guy involved and engaged?
Yeah, you know, we looked at our analytics a little bit earlier this week. I myself did it. It's a question that comes up, like, you know, analytically, this is the best lineup to get you a win, but you also don't want to, you know, mess with guys' confidence, not bring guys along that are coming that are maybe starting to play better than you. That's why coaching's really more of an art than it is a science. If it's a science, you take the analytic numbers and you plug them in, you play the X amount of numbers, but then you're dealing with people, you're dealing with, you know, guys' confidence. You're going to need some guys to play. I think we need our depth as we make it through the year. So I think, you know, what's going to happen is you give guys a shot. You know, if they're ready, you're going to be able to tell pretty quick. We're going to have no tolerance for guys that aren't ready to play in this game. If you're not ready to play in this game, we got to go with guys that are ready to play. But I think you got to give guys a shot when it's appropriate, see what they're ready to do. You don't want to. I'm not a coach that wants to yank guys on mistakes quick. I think it messes with confidence. I want guys playing fully confident, but you can also tell if the stage is too big, if they're just not quite ready. Like, we're gonna have to go with some guys that are ready to play, cause this is a big time game. I mean, they're number one in the country by everyone's standards, so I think we've got some guys that have been in big games that have played well. That's the other thing too, like, you know, some of the young guys, the new guys, there's not the number of games under their belt with us as a staff to where they've got this built-in confidence level in games of this level. You know, Quinterly's been with us, he's played in the SEC tournament, he's played in the SEC championship, he was the SEC tournament MVP. You know, if he has a little rougher start, we've seen him perform at a pretty high level in big time games, so there's a little bit more of that with, you know, Charles has played some big games, even though he's only a sophomore, he's come up huge in big games, he's got a little bit more. Some of the other guys, you know, it is what it is. You gotta kind of build that up, you gotta earn that as you go through, so I'm gonna give everybody a chance that deserves a chance based on practice time, what they've done up to this point, but I don't wanna drastically cut guys' minutes, but there's a sense where you coach in these games and you can read it in their face and you get in those huddles and who's locked in and who's starting to zone out and who's ready for a big time game like this and who's not. And shoot, I know we had a 60-minute game, so the minutes were a little distorted. We had multiple guys play more than 40 minutes that game, so if we gotta have some guys play mid-30s, we will. But, you know, ideally we use our depth because said Oklahoma, I think about Kelvin, we said Oklahoma. Houston's a team that has some depth, and you don't want to be tired. I mean, go back to last year's game, that thing came down to the very last couple seconds. You don't want to have a bunch of fatigue guys going against some of their more fresh guys in the last 4 to 8 minutes of this game either. So I think you got to be smarter using your bench, your rotation a little bit too.
Awesome. Thanks, coach.